give a little presentation about what they've been working on, what they foresee, and perhaps that will sort of focus our feedback and give us something to work with. He may have some questions for y'all as we go, and I think y'all are welcome to ask him questions as well, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Lee, I'll turn it over to you, and if we can get that slideshow up.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me? I don't know about online, but we'll assume they can. Is it yours?
Can we turn on can we share it to the screen too?
Maybe.
I hope so.
You're a 25-year-old here, don't you? Hey, good
Can
morning.
you guys online hear Lee?
Yep.
Okay, they said yes.
Good.
It's working.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Taylor. So we started working on this a little bit. When I say we, there are several departments in the Department of Finance that have worked on this. We've been working between legal, SBS, RPM, which Mickey Allen, my boss, and then DCM. So this was not to get ahead of this group. It was only to provide some framework and kind of what we see as a way ahead. So by no means is anything we're going to show you this is the way it's going to be. We're very willing to make adjustments and anything, but we have spent a lot of time just trying, and with a lot of folks that are awarding authorities, people that have that experience. So hopefully this will seem fairly intuitive. That's the whole goal, to make this easy, a nice flowing website, and so it really, like I said, not to get ahead of the group here, but to get this moving, because we've got to have October 1st. I believe we got to have a slideshow. Hit the slide here. This thing's not working.
For the folks online, we have another technical issue. We can't advance the slides, so bear with us for a moment. Thank you.
Rejected. I don't know if it's because of the sharing. Oh, got something going. Thank you.
All right, we're back in business now.
Sorry about that. I'm assuming that we're going to have some type of shared that these slides will be made available to everybody. We weren't trying to hoard them or anything, but they'll be made available to you. We just wanted to kind of get the juices flowing this morning to talk about some of these things. But quickly, the agenda there, we'll just go through this. We'll look at the legislative overview real quickly, and then the goals, and then a website mock-up, some discussion points, the names of some option names for the website, and then a timeline that we'll kind of try to push through, and hopefully that'll get us where we need to be. Next slide, Eric. Okay, so I think Taylor mentioned that Act 2025-383 was was the legislation that set the advertising in place to have a website that the Department of Finance would maintain. And then there was some exclusions. I think that's what the projects under 100 out, they don't have to be formally advertised. And then ALDOT was already doing some things, and I think they got the language in they wanted, so they're excluded from this for the road and bridge projects. And then also the other piece of this that we thought was a good idea while we were doing this, back in 2023, that 497 authorized the awarding authorities to publish notices, completion notices on a website. So we thought while we were setting this site up, maybe in a latter phase, that we could create the notice of completions as well. So we'll show that in here, but really the primary focus of phase one is to get the advertisements up and running. Next slide, Eric. Okay, so obviously when you go to a website, everybody wants it to be easy to use, catchy phrase, something that's easy to remember. So we tried to keep those goals in mind. I do a lot of online shopping, and I know most people here do. So we tried to take some of those goals and hopefully get them incorporated into a website. We don't have this mock-up won't work. It's only a visual mock-up, but just want to get the juices flowing and see what you all think. Obviously, this is going to expand competition and increase some transparency, because these projects will get advertised 24/7 on a website, as opposed to a newspaper where they're once a week for 3 consecutive weeks, or sometimes a little more frequent depending on the newspaper. But hopefully the website's a one-day business turnaround. So if somebody sends us a document, the goal is to get it online immediately, and we'll work out some of the administrative rules for that. Obviously 24/7, cost-effective. So that's one of the goals that we'll end up hiring a person to manage the website, so there will be a little bit of expense setting it up. But I truly believe that we'll be well under $100 per use of the website. As opposed to when you advertise in the paper, about $1,000 probably for about 3 consecutive weeks of advertising right now, give or take, depending on the newspaper that's involved. So hopefully that's one of the goals to make this very affordable, cost-effective. And then, as I mentioned earlier, down at the bottom, the phased approach. So phase one was to meet the requirements of this legislation, and then phase two was to get some enhancements on the website and make it a little more user-friendly. I think it's Felicia online. Felicia, I know you can't reply, but we've been working with Felicia Kirkland and her team there at State Business Solutions, and they're going to be the developers of the website. And trying to get this worked out for them, they really felt it was a tight timeline to get by October 1st. So I'll show you in here what they believe they can get set up. And then obviously there'll be some follow-on phases. And all this will be on a timeline when we get down a couple of slides. Next slide here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Thank you. Okay, so this is kind of like a mock-up, if you would, of what you'd see. And this is very primitive. Obviously, a web designer could make this look a little more appealing. But as you see at the top, Alabama Builds, that's the name we think is our most popular choice for site, because our procurement division has Alabama Buys. So we thought, being this is Title 39, Alabama Builds. So anyway, we'll show a little more about that on a slide or two down. But as you see there, can you hit the fly? You got a fly in there on that slide, Eric? As you see, the top 3 buttons there, if you will, are tiles, whatever you call those as an IT person. So those would be available to the public to be able to view. As you see there, advertisements for bids, which is the requirement for this, the upper left quadrant under the red circle in. And then view bid results, and then view completion notices. So that's what I mentioned a little earlier about the completion notices. And then the view bid results would be something available if awarding authorities chose to post their bid tabs. A lot of people like to see the bid tabs, and then if you go on different entities' websites, they publish their bid tabs. So we would give that opportunity to remember. In this, we're not an awarding authority. We're just trying to provide a service to the awarding authorities, right? So we think those would be 3 really good call-ins for this. Obviously, you don't have to have any kind of subscription to use those buttons. You can just click them, go on there, and we'll show a mock-up here in a minute with a little more detail of that. And then at the bottom, there's a couple icons, one hidden behind the call-in there. You'd have a sign up for notices and then submit ads, results, and notices. That would be for people that want to actually use the website where you want to submit a document. So you would actually subscribe and get the permissions to upload advertisements for bids or completion notices for general contractors. So we thought that was a pretty good opportunity to have one location. Next slide, Eric. So this is a mock-up of the view advertisements for bids. So if you were to click on that from the prior slide, you would see some kind of tabular view of all the projects that are currently advertising. And as you see up there, right corner, filter by, sort by, export. So that would allow these public entities or users to pull data out of here, sort it, filter, do all those things that we like to do, no matter what website we're on. And then you see there the advertisement for bid there would be hyperlinked, under each line. And it would, oops, that's okay, no worries. So, and this is very typical. If you look at other states and look at other entities, they have a list of their projects, some kind of tabular view like this, and then you can manipulate it. So obviously we think that's a good way to go. And then based on the columns, we've already kind of worked on some of the columns that we think need to be there, but obviously those could be vetted a little better. Next slide. Okay, so the bottom two tabs would be actually for subscribers. So whoever wants to use the website, they would log in, create an identity, and then they'd be able to submit whatever document, an advertisement, a result, or a bid tab, or notices of completion. And then also we think in a latter phase, the sign up for notices as well. So maybe you could even get an email or a text. We've talked about those things, so those are in the to-do list. A lot of people, are really like to see it on their phone, so hopefully that's the whole key here, to get it to everybody's phone where they can see it really easy. Next slide, Eric. Okay, so just keep in mind, we would be setting the website up, operating, but we're not the awarding authority. That belongs to the owners that want to advertise. And then so it's their data. We're just displaying it for them. So obviously when they submit things, we would have a person that would read it and make sure wordsmith it and make sure everything's on there it's supposed to be, and then feedback between the two parties if necessary. But the goal is to get those posted really quick, to get them on there and get them posted. And then so, as I mentioned earlier, State Business Solutions, one of our sister departments here in finance, they're actually going to be the architect of the website, and Felicia is actually online. Staffing on this, we believe we can take one employee, probably hire one employee to run that with some cross-training of our other staff to make sure we always got 20, continuous support to the website. And then obviously we'd be the ones maintaining it. And then, we want to have analytics on the website, because this committee, once we get this thing going, will have to report. So we'll want to see those analytics, see how things are going, and have a feedback module on there if people see things they'd like to do it a little better way. So we'll be able to cover that. Obviously, I mentioned earlier a fee to post for these particular items, and we hadn't really locked the fee down, but we believe it'll be very economical doing it. And then the go-live date is October 1st for advertising Title 39 Public Works projects. And we do believe that it'll be an ongoing effort to build the website. That's just the way it is with the timeline we have. Go to the next slide, Eric. Let's look at some names. So we looked at a bunch of different names. And, when you start looking at names for websites, you got to kind of go scurry the internet, so to speak, to make sure and try to find these things. And luckily, Alabama Builds and then Alabama Build, we went ahead and reserved both of those because, I guess you don't want to be spoofed or anything like that. We can hold all these sites. So the goal would be to hold the .gov, .com, .org, and the .net. Have all those held with that. So anybody that pulls those up, they get to the website. Most of those are small fees. Occasionally you'll see there where somebody's already reserved something. They want a little larger fee, but they're usually small fees to lock these down. I think that's one of the goals. We just went ahead and locked down the two obvious ones up there, but yes, ma'am, I think that's good.
My recommendation was to get the plural, like the Alabama Build and Alabama Builds. Because you get typo squatting, or you get people who put in just the wrong address and don't realize they're doing that. So, we'll try and cover all the bases there. I think your mic might not be on, so the folks online can't hear you.
This is Heather Coleman Davis. We build some websites for some of our clients, and we get as many website domain names as we can that we kind of mirror so that there's nobody can spoof it, and you just have it.
I absolutely agree.
So they're $30.
Yeah,
they're
pretty cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and the ones doing the research, there were a couple that somebody already reserved. As you see up there down, they wanted a little more money, but most of them, like I said, were just a few dollars. So I think it's a great idea. Next slide, Eric. So recommendations moving forward. So this was obviously just to kind of get the juices flowing of everybody here. So really the website timeline and how we work as a group to meet and make sure we review this. I guess that's going to be the topic here when we get done. Go to the next slide here. Let's look at the time. So I like a picture. Words are one thing, but I like a picture in the timeline. So you can see the explosions on the timeline there. 1 October go live is right there in the middle of the screen, and you see some call outs there. That's what we call phase 1. So that would be SBS heavily developed, testing, implementing this to get it. And that's the advertising portion of this, get it up and running. And then they would, as you can see in phase 2, they would continue after October 1st building these other pieces and parts and truly bring this thing online, kind of like building a house with additional rooms, so to speak. We just keep adding these enhancements and getting available by December 12th there, as you see, we could have the analytics from what we've already done. And then obviously the commission's going to have to bring a report together sometime in we've got early January there, and probably report late January, whatever that fifth day or so is. And then all the way into April, and it may take a little longer than that, depending on our developers, how they're proceeding, how things are going. And we may get some feedback from the website too. As we're building this, we'll have some type of feedback module where users could provide input. We could help make it a little more effective. So as you see here, is any questions on this timeline or any of these call outs on here? There's a lot of this gets into the IT and the techno portions of building these things.
Prior to the go-live date on October 1st, I see you've got some in-house testing. Is there going to be any beta testing with contractors on this or on the back end, or is the committee going to be able to help with that process?
I think it'll be perfectly fine. We had talked about testing with some of the select customers that we've done. We've done other websites and chose entities to help us, but yes, I think that's a good point. Alicia, I wish she was here. We talked about that with her.
I think it would be good to suggest some folks for them.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
And like I say, this is going to be the bare bones version. This is just to get something that meets the statutory requirements early on. And we will certainly have more time after that for much more extensive testing, more features. I mean, I got a lot of things that I would like to see on this, but aren't required by the statute. We talked about email notifications before, not required by the statute, but man, that would make things so much easier for a lot of people, and I think that could be done. So,
is October 1st the date that we can announce this to our members and our groups, or would you? I don't want to wait and kind of.
I think we probably should wait, and hopefully we can get Felicia. Next meeting, obviously, we want Felicia Kirkland, the leader of SBS, on here because they're going to be the architects of the website. I think there will be a point. I didn't actually call. I just put it in the middle. Sometime before we went live, we would put an announcement out. But yes, I think in there, as well as testing with some select users, would be absolutely a good idea, no doubt. Yep. Any other questions?
Sonny, you got your mic on.
From a local government standpoint, I shouldn't say that. From a county standpoint, I think we see this project, and we saw what the final product was as a way to expand notification to the extent that additional responsibilities and additional activities that counties would have to do after the bids were open on this website is something I just want to stick my foot in the ground and say we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what got us here. I think I know what my members will tell me about that. There might be some other people around this table who might be thinking that too. But I just need to get my foot in the ground there. The notification process makes sense to us. The other stuff I'd like to be able to talk about later.
I would certainly say at this point that all these extra features that we're talking about are entirely optional, and to make things more convenient for public entities that want to use them.
I agree with you, and that was not the intent to make it mandatory, because we're not going to take the awarding authority's power away, so to speak. But some people like to. I know a lot of entities that use website like to post their bid tabs. And, that's something that would come at a little later date. And usually, a lot of times we used to get a lot of calls from contractors saying, hey, can I get a copy of the bid tab, for that. So we just thought if people wanted to use it, it'd be a great way to be able to go on there and click and see what the results were. Sure. But, yeah. But, yes, that would be definitely an enhancement that's above and beyond what the website was established for. Next one, take questions or comments.
All right. Well, thank you, Lee. So that kind of gives y'all some good insight into what DCM is thinking at this point, kind of their plan going forward. Again, we need to have something bare bones deployed by October 1. But I would also say if you have issues with the direction that you see this going, if you have feedback or things that you think we need either before October 1 or after October 1, both of those are good things to tell us. If you have problems with it, then I would say the earlier the better, to let us know. Lee has requested some preliminary feedback by August 4th, which is next week. So it would be good to sort of take this, we'll send this out, but take this back to your groups and discuss it internally, things that you think we ought to do. And I also want to say this is not necessarily the only path we can go with a website. I know we've had some discussions with different folks about different ways that we could do this. We could have a third-party contractor build it. We could build it internally like Lee's talking about. We also have some existing things like Alabama Buys that we could potentially utilize features of. I do want to say that one of my priorities longer term is that we have much more integration between all the ways that you bid and purchase in state government. At the very least, we ought to have these websites linking to each other to say, you're on the Title 39 website. If you're trying to buy goods and services, go here to alabamabuys.gov. And that to me is a minimum requirement. But that's also not required by October 1, so those are a little bit longer term. Again, when you provide feedback, it would be good to know from each of you, are you talking about a pre-October 1 feature, or like by October 1 feature, or are you talking longer term? These are things that we think it ought to work this way. It would be good to divide that up when you give us feedback. So like y'all had. Go ahead.
Since it is a website that is simply hosting the advertisements for other awarding authorities, information that makes clear as to who the contact is at that awarding authority would be beneficial, so that y'all aren't getting inundated with phone calls with folks asking about the bids, but also that the contractors know exactly who at the public entity to get in touch with. The other thing is that I know our folks have already had questions about and issues with in the past is addendums. Is there a way, how are those going to be handled when there needs to be a change to the...
Well, and we talked about that, and, not being the awarding authority, we put ourselves in the newspaper's footprint, so to speak, because, they don't get all the addendas and all that as well, and we think that still probably should be tied back to the advertisement. And once they file to become a plan holder, then the normal role takes care of all those things. Now, I guess it is possible you could have another column where somebody could come back and update the bid date or something like that on here. It's a little more work to do that because, we'd have a big disclaimer on the bottom. We're not the awarding authority here, so we're basing this off information that's been pushed to us. So we talked a lot about that, how to manage addenda and because bid openings get delayed. Probably 40% of them get delayed a week or two or a month. And then one good thing about this website, when people start trying to get their projects and get closer to the time to advertise, they'll be able to see these things on here. So hopefully it's going to help all these awarding authorities kind of weave together some better bids because, I was awarding authority for years and we moved so many of them because of other entities. So hopefully these things will help. And then I think it'd be a good idea if we could get especially if we had a bid get delayed, if we could figure out a way to get that in there. But obviously that's only as good as the information you receive from the awarding authority. I think we could get the information and get it on there fairly quickly. But so we really didn't want to cut that role of the architect out that manages that process and kind of like the newspaper. But we're certainly open to talk more about that, I think. And I think it'd be a good idea if we could figure out how to.
That's an excellent question, though.
And I do think that that's something that could be added as things go along. So it's a good idea to get something simple up quickly, and through time we'll see things that need to be changed.
Yeah.
Added.
I think that, one of the good things here is with October 1, this group will be able to give feedback on the preliminary website and, test it yourselves and play around with it a little bit and see what you think. So we can. I just say that's good because we'll actually see a semi-finished product, at least the initial product that we can go with. Christine, you had.
Yes. So I just wanted to say, so I know that we had some discussions about using Alabama Buys in some capacity. I like your idea of linking them back and forth, and I do like this separate website because there's already so much overlap and confusion with 41 and 39 that hopefully we're going to get cleaned up through the committee. But,
that's our next meeting.
Yeah, so hopefully we're going to get some of that cleaned up. But I do think it would be cleaner and easier for suppliers to navigate if it's separated on our side so that they're not getting confused about which statute applies, which procedures are in place and that kind of thing. So I do like the separation there. Good job, Lee.
Yeah, let me point out again, this was not done in a vacuum. We had quite a few people that we met for the last month or so. So this is not a DCM product. This was a multi-department product, and it was a lot of just about every discussion we had in detail in those meetings. So kudos to the many that worked on this.
Yeah, and I'll echo that and say particular praise for Alicia Kirkland and her team at SBS. It's a division of finance department. Many of y'all may know them because they run some of our most heavy-duty systems like STARS, and that is an enormous task in and of itself. So building this, I think they certainly have the expertise internally. It is trying to get their labor that is the most difficult part because they are slammed all the time. So anyway, a lot of praise for Felicia and SBS, and we will be working with them very extensively on this. Actually, regardless of which way we go with a product in the future, I mean, I believe this will be a finance department website ultimately, so one way or another it's going to involve them. So anyway, do we have any other questions about where this is going, any comments, things we need to look out for as we're doing development? No? All right. Well, I appreciate it. All right, so thoughts on next meeting. Do we need to set up a regular meeting schedule? What would y'all like to see as far as that's concerned? I don't have any preconceived notion about that, so. Another month? Regular? Any particular days of the week for thinking the rest of summer into fall? We could do most of them virtually, I think, just giving feedback and discussion and a few of them hybrid, probably, the more critical points. I think we ought to have another one of these sometime around October 1, once we've had maybe a week after October 1, after we've had some time to look at what's gone live. And last Monday of every month. What do we think about that, Lee? Too early?
No, I think a few days ahead would be good.
Okay.
Absolutely, and maybe we could, virtually we could all log in, and then somebody could actually use a website and we could all watch. So, absolutely.
All right.
It takes time to get everybody that developed these websites. I mean, it's a pretty big task just to get the minimum up. It's a pretty big task. So, Alicia and them's got their work cut out for them.
All right. I think it's not a bad. I'm just looking at schedules on out, and Mondays, the last Mondays seem to be pretty open for me. Prefer morning or afternoon? Was it too much to get here like first thing on Monday? No? That's a vote for afternoon, but morning? All right, I'm going to go ahead and say mornings. And we won't do it at 9 if you prefer it a little later in the morning. Anyway, we will set up a recurring appointment the mornings of the last Monday of every month. And I think I'll bring that up with our ALI group too to see if we can put those together like we're planning to do for this one. All right, well, that would put our next meeting at the morning of August 25th. Yes, we will do virtual auction. I've got some public owners and other groups that are out of town anyway, and it's difficult for them to get here. So if we can do it virtually, my intention is pretty much to either have all virtual or hybrid. So my plan is always to have a virtual option. Some of them may not be in person at all, but want to be respectful of everybody's time. Okay, well, I appreciate it. I think, the ultimate goal here is to bring about fair competition, best value for taxpayers, efficient use of taxpayer funds. I think posting things online where everybody can see them increases transparency for state and local governments. I think that's a laudable goal that we all want to see. So I appreciate all your effort into this. We will be very in the weeds on this commission, I think. So look forward to all of your feedback and thoughts, and we will see you August 25th.
Hey, Taylor, can I say?
Go ahead, Lee.
Sorry. So when we get ready to announce the website, obviously there'll be some kind of executive memorandum that'll go out, or we'll want to distribute that through all the hosts here, right? So we just got to get that, make sure we get that out. We test, we get some type of memo together, and make sure we notify everybody in a timely manner, because I know I've been contacted by quite a few municipalities. They're ready to use a website. They're already asking who to. You probably know that, but
we know there's some who are very.
But we do need some structure in as we meet, get this announcement out, and make sure that everybody's aware. And I think it'll kind of go like a fire, as soon as we. But we do need to send it through all the different entities that are involved in the work group. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Thank y'all for your time. Is there a motion to adjourn? All right. The motion, all in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.